Alright guys, so hopefully we can finish up the home page in this video here. So the last thing we did was this part here, this work with any language, and we have all the little icons for the languages. So we're going to go under that section and we're going to create our podcast section. So let's do a section tag. You guys know the deal. So we'll give it a custom class of section podcast. Okay, let's also give it white text. So the reason that I'm not giving it a purple background through Materialize is because that's going to come from our overlay. Okay, just like we did up here, we want to create an overlay. So we can actually copy, you know what we'll do is just copy everything here inside the developers section and paste that in, because we do want the overlay and the wrapper. We want the container, we want a row, except we're not going to do one full row. We're going to do an 8-column on medium screens and a 4-column on medium screens. So let's do right here M8, and let's get rid of the center. So we got M8, and then we'll go under here and we'll do call S12 M4. All right, and on this in the 8 side we're going to have an H4, and we'll change this to listen to the Carousel podcast, and then we'll put a paragraph underneath that and we'll say every Thursday at, let's say, 5 p.m. Eastern time. All right, and then in this side, on this side, the 4-column, we're just going to have a link formatted as a button. So we'll do BTN, and we also want it to be purple, and we're going to want it to be large. So BTN dash large. I can't type, and that's just going to go nowhere. And then inside the A tag, we're going to have an icon, font awesome, so it's going to be FA, and then also FA dash, and there's actually an icon called podcast. We're going to use that, and then we're just going to say listen, and that should do it. So let's save and take a look. Okay, now actually, one second here. So we have some CSS to add first. Let's go to our main CSS, and let's see, I feel like I'm missing something here. So section podcast, we have our primary overlay. We have our row, we have our medium 8, medium 4 columns. The overlay is way up here. Oh, you know why? Because our section podcast isn't position relative. So what's happening is the overlay is looking at the whatever the parent relative element is, which is basically the root element. So it's up here. So all we have to do is go in here and say section podcast, and we want to set excuse me, that position to relative, and save, and now that's down here. Why this is so small? Oh, we got to put the image and stuff. All right, never mind. Got a little confused for a second there. So let's do our background, because we did it the other way around before. Background is going to be URL. It's going to be in the image folder, and it's going to be called, it's circuit. So circuit.jpg. And then let's do a background size of cover, and a background position of center, and let's do border top, I'll just copy this. We're going to do the same thing we did here. And then under that, we'll do a minimum height of 180. All right, let's save that, and there we go. But you know what? I don't want this. This is too light, I think. This is good, the overlay for this image, because it's a darker image, but this is too light. So what we'll do is we'll just say section podcast, and then we'll take the primary overlay that's in that, and let's set it to background RGBA, and we want the same color. We want the 112, what is it, 81 176, but we're going to change the alpha value to 0.9 and save, and that makes it darker. Let's see, what else do we want to do here? Let's you know what, let's change the minimum height, because they look a little too big. Yeah, there we go. Maybe even 160. Yeah, that's good. And then let's check the responsiveness. Okay, so looks like we have an issue here. All right, so we're going to change the min height on small screens for both the podcast and the developers section. So let's go down here and do a media query. So we're going to say max width 500 pixels. Whoops, 500 pixels. Oops, this should be at media. And then we'll take the section developers and section podcast, and we'll set the min height to, let's say, 240 pixels and save. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. You know what? I want to move that button down a little, though. See this button right here? So we could do, let's see, we could do section podcast, not podcast. So section podcast, whoops. And then we want to just add a, and let's do a margin top 30 pixels. Okay, so now that pushes that down. Good. I think that's fine. I mean, if you want, in the media query, you can take the margin off if you don't want that space there, but I think that's fine. All right, so now we're going to move on to the testimonial. And the testimonial is actually a carousel. Say section testimonial. And let's do gray, and let's do lighten -4. Alright, so in here we'll have our container, we'll have our row, we'll have a call S12, and then we want our carousel. So a class of carousel. We're also going to do carousel slider. Remember, there was two types of carousel. One was like the kind of like the, I guess, the Apple type, where it has, you can see all the images and it kind of, you can kind of scroll through them, or the slider, which shows like one image at a time, or it doesn't have to be an image, but any content area. So we want content carousel slider. We also want to center everything. All right, and then in here we want our carousel items. So this will be carousel dash item, and Yeah, div carousel item, and then we want to give this an href. I'm just going to give it an href of #1 exclamation, and inside here we'll put an h2, and we're going to say testimonial 1. Let's give it a paragraph with flow text, and then let's do we'll put some quotes, and then we'll do lorem 30 tab, like that. Okay, and let's see, underneath the paragraph, let's put in some emphasis tags, and we'll say John Doe from Microsystems. And then underneath, actually, you know what, this emphasis, I want this in the paragraph, so like right here. And then outside of the paragraph, we're going to put a class of carousel dash fixed item center, and then I'm also going to hide on small and down, so hide on small and down. Okay, because it looks weird on small screens. This is just going to be the button or the link, so it'll be a link formatted as a button, and we'll make it gray, and we'll just say read more. Alright, so there's our carousel item. Now what I'll do is copy that carousel item div. So we'll take that and we'll do 2 more. Okay, the second one here, let's change this to 2, and let's change this to testimonial 2. We'll change the name to we'll say Mike Smith from, I don't know, Edge Inc. And then this last one here, we'll change this to 3, and we'll change it to testimonial 3. And then let's change the person here to Karen Williams from, let's say, TechSoft. Okay, so let's save that. Now it's not going to show up just yet because we need to initialize it. So we're going to go down to the bottom here, and let's go ahead and let's say carousel. It also had a class of carousel dash slider, and we just want to call dot carousel, but we want to pass in an option of full width and set that to true, so it goes across the whole thing. Let's also initialize our sidebar while we're here. We didn't do that, so we want our button collapse. Whoops, button collapse, side nav, sorry, like that. And there's our testimonial, and we can scroll through them now. Cool. And let's test out the side nav. Awesome. So there's our links with the icons and the login. That looks pretty good. Now all we have to do after the testimonial is the footer, but we also have to do the login modal. When I click this login button, I want a modal to open. So I think that I'm going to save that for the next video. We'll throw the footer in, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do that modal.